Hello there, you're with me Mohit, and today we are discussing two verbs which may have been troublesome for you or are being troublesome for you. Nonetheless, in this video we will try and turn that problem of yours into a has been. And we're going to do that by discussing the differences between the two verbs been and being in the light of the three tenses, the past, present and the future. So let's go ahead and begin with the present. Alright, so let's begin discussing the usages of been and being in the light of the present tense, beginning with verbs. So we begin with been over here. So whenever you've got a verb being used along with been in a sentence in the present, you're going to be using that in the present perfect continuous tense. You'll have sentence structure such as the subject followed by have or has, plus been, plus the verb in the present participle, that is to say the verb along with the ing. Now this will give rise to sentences such as I have been eating. Now there are a variety of ways to interpret the meaning of I have been eating, the most basic one being that I started eating at a point in time in the past and I am still eating. So how do I express that? I express that as I have been eating. Another usage of this format is to express current habit. Say if I want to say that I have currently or recently developed a habit of eating a lot, I can extend this sentence and express the same by saying something like I have been eating a lot lately, reflecting my current habit. And another usage of this format is along with the prepositions since and for. Attaching them, you can have sentences such as I have been eating since the lunch hour. Or you can have a sentence with for as I have been eating for 10 minutes now. So those are the interpretations of I have been eating. You can also go ahead and imagine the same sentence in the negative as well as the interrogative. You've got the negative as I haven't been eating and you have your interrogative as have I been eating. So that's been along with the verb. Let's consider with being with the verb now. So whenever you're going to use being along with the verb in the present tense, you're going to be doing that in the present continuous tense. You have the sentence structure such as subject plus is, am or are depending upon the subject, followed by being, followed by the verb in the past participle this time, which is to say the third form of the verb. Now what this does is this gives rise to passive structure sentences. You have a passive sentence over here as I am being eaten. Now I'm very apologetic for that cannibalistic image, but I thought it the easiest and the best way to get through. So you've got a sentence I am being eaten, which essentially is the passive for someone is eating me. Now heaven forbid, but once again only for teaching purposes, let's not get serious about that image. So whenever being interacts with the verb in the present, it gives rise to a passive structure sentence as you just saw. Now the critical difference between been and being over here is that in case of been, we have an evidence that the activity started in the past and is continuing on into the present moment. However, in case of being, which is the present continuous, we have no connection of the activity with the past and we're only interested in the activity, which over here is very apologetically I am being eaten. We're only interested about this activity at the moment when this sentence is being said, with no connection with the past whatsoever. And that is the usage of the verb along with been and being. Let's go ahead and move on to the usage of adjectives now with these two verbs. So we come down here, we've got the interaction of the adjective along with been first. So whenever you're going to use been along with the adjective in the present tense, you're going to be doing that in the present perfect form this time. You have sentence structure as subject plus have or has plus been followed by the adjective. This will give you sentences such as he has been quiet. Now, how do you see the meaning of that? He has been quiet comes down to the fact that he started being quiet at a moment of time in the past and is still quiet. And that is being expressed as he has been quiet. Contrary to this, you've got your being now being used in the with the adjective. So once again, that takes the form of a present continuous tense. You've got the sentence structure as subject followed by is, am or are, followed by being, and eventually being followed by the adjective. You've got a sentence such as they are being unreasonable, which is to say that they are behaving in an unreasonable manner right now, the moment when the sentence is said. Contrary to been, where we had the evidence that he started being quiet in the past as well. So once again, whenever you got being interacting with the adjective, just like with the verb, we are only interested in the event as and when it is happening and as and when the sentence is being spoken. So there you've got it, the usage of an adjective along with been and being. And now finally we move on to the usages of been and being vis-a-vis the noun. So we've got the sentences over here. So say whenever you're going to use been along with a noun in the present tense, you're going to be doing that in the present perfect, giving you a sentence structure such as subject plus have or has plus been followed by the noun. This will give you a sentence such as she has been a model. Let's again consider the meaning of that sentence, which means that she became a model in the past and is still a model, and that is expressed as she has been a model. Compared to that, we've got being, which once again when interacts with the noun in the present tense does so in the present continuous format, and this gives rise to a sentence structure such as subject plus is, am or are plus being plus the noun. You have an example over here, she is being a model, which has two interpretations really. The first one is that she is acting like she's a model, she is behaving as a model, so you've got she is being a model, and another meaning as she is becoming a model. So once again over here we have a connection with the past in case of been, but when it comes to being, the connection is only limited to the moment when the sentence is being spoken. So there you have it, the usages of been and being with relation to verbs, nouns and adjectives in the present. Now let's go ahead and study the usages with relation to the past tense. Let's begin. Alright, so now let's go on ahead to the usage of been and being, this time with reference to the past tense. We once again begin with the verb. So we've got been over here interacting with the verb. So whenever you've got been coming along with the verb in the past, it does so in the past perfect continuous format. You've got the sentence structure as subject plus had plus been plus the verb in the present participle, that is to say the verb in the ing form. Now this will result into sentences such as she had been listening, which essentially goes on to say that she was listening to something at a point in time in the past to another point in time in the past itself. Let me give you an example here to clarify further. Say you've got a sentence such as she had been listening to music from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. last night. So you've got two time frame references over here, the starting point being 9 p.m. and the ending point being 11 p.m., both referring to a time in the past which is last night. So that is the interaction of been with an adjective, with a verb, in the past. Now let's compare that with the interaction of being with the verb in the past, and this takes place in the past continuous structure. You've got a sentence as the subject plus was or were plus being plus the verb in the past participle, that is to say the verb in the third form. So this gives rise to a passive sentence such as she was being listened to, which is the passive form of the active sentence someone was listening to her. So in order to create the passive of that, you go ahead and say she was being listened to, that being providing the sense of continuity to the activity. Once again, the difference remaining the same. In case of been, we are interested in the starting and the ending point of the activity. However, when it comes to being, which is the past continuous, we are only concerned about the time when the activity was actually taking place. Now over here we are not keen on the point in time when somebody started listening to her or when they stopped listening to her. Rather, all we are concerned about is the point in time when she was being listened to and when this sentence was spoken. So there you have it, the differences between being and been with the verb in the past. And now let's go ahead to the adjective. We come down here. So we've got the interaction of been with an adjective, this time in the past. So whenever that happens, it's done in the past perfect structure. So you've got a sentence structure as subject plus had plus been plus the adjective. This will give you a sentence such as she had been sick, which once again goes on to say that she was sick at a point in time in the past to another point in time in the past again. Giving you an example one more time, you've got a sentence such as she had been sick from the middle of January to the first week in February. Say it is March now, so from the angle of March, from the perspective of March, both these dates, the middle of January and the starting of February, are the times related to the past. Hence you've got that expressed as she had been sick. and that is the past perfect structure. As compared to that, we've got the interaction of being with an adjective in the past. This takes place, however, in the past continuous format. You've got a sentence such as subject plus was or were plus being plus the adjective. This will give you a sentence such as the children were being impatient, and the difference remains the same, that you've got a starting point and ending point in case of the past perfect, that is the been. However, in case of being, the children were being impatient, which is to say essentially the children were behaving impatiently. We are only interested in the moment when the children were behaving impatiently. It does not matter when they started behaving that way or they stopped behaving that way, and that's being used in the past continuous. And finally, we come down to the noun. We've got the interaction of the noun with been in the past, which takes place in the past perfect structure. You've got a sentence structure such as subject plus had plus been plus noun. You have a sentence as well based on that structure, which is she had been a model, which once again is saying that she became a model at a point in time in the past and continued to be a model at another point in time once again in the past. An example coming up here as well. So you have a sentence such as she had been a model from 1995 to 2005. This being 2017, both the time periods pertaining to the past. Hence you have that sentence as she had been a model. As opposed to this, you've got the interaction of being with a noun in the past, which again takes place in the past continuous. You have the sentence structure as subject plus was or were plus being plus noun, and you have the sentence deriving out of that as she was being a model, which is to say that she was behaving as a model or she was becoming a model. The difference, I'm sure you know it by now, once again remaining the same. We are not concerned in the starting or the ending as in case of been. Rather, in case of being a model, we are only interested in that moment in time in the past when she was becoming a model or she was behaving as a model. And that's all the usages of been and being with reference to verbs, nouns, and adjectives in the past. And now let's go on and move ahead to the future. Let's go. Alright then, so far a lot of work explaining and understanding those concepts. Nonetheless, finally something to cheer about, which is that when it comes to the future, there is no applicability of being, which is why you see that removed from the board. So let's just go ahead and study the usage of been in regard with the future tense. But before getting into that, a very important concept over here, which is that when it comes to the future, been is used along with the perfect tenses, that is to say the future perfect tense as well as the future perfect continuous. Now these two tenses are rarer usages, and people tend to prefer in their lieu the usages of simple future as well as future continuous. Nonetheless, the usage of the future perfect tenses does add an added degree of precision to the language. So let's just go ahead and study the very same, starting with the verb. So we begin with been used along with the verb. So when you use been in the future, it is used in two formats. The first format being the future perfect continuous, and the second one being the future perfect. We start with the first one, which is the future perfect continuous, and this is used to express continuity up to a future particular time. Let's have a look at the sentence structure. The sentence structure looks like subject followed by will plus have followed by been plus the verb in the present participle, that is the verb in the ing form. Now this gives rise to a sentence such as she will have been auditioning from 4 to 6 tomorrow evening, which is to say that tomorrow she will be busy with her auditions, which will begin at 4 p.m. in the evening and will last till 6 p.m. tomorrow evening once again. So that is the verb in the future perfect continuous along with been. Now we have the verb in the future perfect. Let's have a look at the structure once again. We've got subject followed by will plus have followed by been and eventually being followed by the verb, this time in the past participle, which is the third form of the verb. Let's have a look at that sentence over here. So we've got she will have been selected by tomorrow evening. Now we're making a very positive conjecture or a positive guess over here, which is to say that by tomorrow evening her selection will have become a reality. So that is been in the future perfect. Now once again we move on to been with the adjective in the future tense this time, which works in the future perfect once again, and the usage is to show the actualization or completion by a future particular time. Let's have a look at the sentence structure, which looks like subject plus will followed by have followed by been plus the adjective. Let's have a look at the sentence being generated based on that structure. You have got, she will have been bored by the end of the movie tomorrow. So that is to say that somebody is going to watch a movie tomorrow, and you know that the movie is a bit of a drag, and you make an estimate or you make a guess based on that, that if the person is to go watch that movie tomorrow, then by the end of the movie, they will be bored. And that's the adjective in the future perfect along with been. And then finally, we've got the usage of been along with the noun in the future, which takes place once again in the future perfect. As already discussed, the usage of future perfect is to show completion by a future particular time. So let's have a look at the sentence over here, which is he will have been a chef for 10 years tomorrow. You have the sentence structure as subject plus will plus have plus been followed by the noun being chef over here. So once again, that sentence is he will have been a chef for 10 years tomorrow, which is to say that he will be completing his decade as a chef tomorrow. So those are all the usages of been along with verbs, adjective as well as noun in the future. But before wrapping up, a very quick note of a miscellaneous usage of been, which is in the present perfect and is used to mention the place or places one has visited. Let's take an example over here, which is Carol has been to Canada. Now this goes on to say that at some point during her life, Carol has made a visit or has seen or had the opportunity to visit Canada. And that's the last usage, the miscellaneous usage, which was to mention the places one has visited. And with that, we wrap up this entire section on been and being. I hope this has been useful. I know it's been a little exhaustive, but I hope it's been worth your while. If it has been, please go ahead, like, share, and subscribe. We will meet soon. Until then, stay safe. Continue to enjoy watching the videos. Thank you so much.